Welcome to Bootstrap Businessmen, the podcast focused on developing the entrepreneur within on a shoestring budget. And I am your host, #1 best-selling fitness author, Dale L. Roberts, and I'm joined by my co-host, the Midwest best, Kevin S. Allen.
Hey, man, how we doing tonight, Dale? How you feeling?
Fantastic, feeling great as usual, of course.
All right, man, same here. Hey, I just wanted to throw a little thing in here. Hey, everybody that's listening, please support the show by simply shopping at Amazon.com. We have a link provided in our show notes. All you got to do is bookmark that in your browser. Anytime you go to shop at Amazon, just click on that. Basically, a small percentage gets kicked back to us. Doesn't cost you any more money. That small percentage helps cover the cost of our show, and overhead. So if you want to keep hearing the awesome, great content and some of the great guests and stuff that we got coming to you, just go in, bookmark that, use that link.
Excellent. Yeah. And hey, remember, if you like the show, then show us some love. Click
show
the
some
follow
love
on our site at show.bootstrapbusinessmen.com, Stitcher, or iTunes. And the best part is you won't miss out on a single episode if you're following us. And should we decide to have a special pop-up show with exclusive time-sensitive promotions, then you'll know all about it.
Which we've had what, at least 3 or 4 probably over the last few weeks here, pop-up episodes. We're giving away a lot of great books, some audiobooks, people got to follow.
That's absolutely true. All right, here we go. We are live, baby. We're on the after show. So we just got done interviewing my good buddy, best buddy, good friend, tag partner from wrestling, Dustin Rayz Frasier. So Dustin was just a blast, man, dude. We went well over the hour, didn't we?
Oh man, it was so easy though. I mean, just listening to him, everything his mind, the way that it works, he's got the idea going, and it just flows. Beautiful, man.
Yeah, the funny thing is, he probably, I don't know if he will ever admit to something like this, but he's a bit of an introvert. But I think that's where it was like it was a perfect match between he and I when we were traveling. He's very reserved, he's very respectful. He's not the type of guy that goes around playing grab ass, in the locker room or anything like that. He was probably, he is still one of those guys that's very respected. And not a single person's going to have a bad word to say about Dustin.
Wow. I wouldn't have never guessed that he was introverted.
I think a lot of what he's doing right now is through just, he keeps everything internalized. And I think that he's brilliant. Sometimes the things, and especially when it came to when he and I would, work out some matches with other people, in tag team, I'd wrestled him numerous times. In fact, I've got a picture, and maybe one of these times I'll shoot it to you. I got a picture of me giving him essentially my finishing move onto the concrete. Here's a very funny story, and I know sometimes we're talking about these things. We rabbit trail on Bootstrap Businessmen. So if you're the person that I need to get that information, get some entertainment here too. So we're on the show, and it was around Halloween time, I think it was, in maybe 2007. It wasn't 2008 for sure. So yeah, it had to be 2007. And I was carrying some title for some small federation out in Dayton area, and any rate. It was kind of like the secondary title of the show. It wasn't like their heavyweight championship. It was like their TV championship or something like that. Any event though, the two of us were pretty much paired up. I was the baby face, the good guy, and he was the heel. And, we just always had a natural chemistry. So we knew that going out, it was going to be very easy. Because, see, I was the type of wrestler that I didn't like planning out a ton of things. I just kind of knew I would like to know a general idea. Okay, how's our finish? And a couple things I need to look for in the match. So typically Dustin would just he would be what we call the ring general. He would call the things out in the ring and say, just pretty much whisper the spot in my ear, or he would go, remember that thing? And we just simply go through it. I was the kind of person, we could do Tennessee walk and talk, you just tell me what to do, I'll do it. It's like, hey, tackle, drop down, leapfrog, hip toss, powder out of the ring. Simple. I mean, I would be able to, to a lot of the listeners probably are
I'm going,
what does that mean? Yeah. Essentially, you start to understand some of this, this verbiage and such. So I was the type of person, if you try to tell me, and this is funny, I mentioned this in Fail to Succeed, and I was reminded when I was listening to the audiobook today that, my first match was just a atrocity. It was, for lack of better words or even more tasteful terms, it was an abortion. It was awful. I mean, I remember I get together with this guy and I try to plan out everything, one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. Now, see, here's the thing is, when I was training up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, underneath Lance, he kind of told me what I eventually learned is, get a basic idea and then go talk the rest of it out in the ring and feel out the audience. But by the time I came back from Calgary, I just didn't have that perfected. So instead of listening to, what I learned from Lance and keeping it simple, I decided, I was like, I'm with this guy. I'm like, we're going to do this. 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 Oh, and he's like, you're going to do this. And we're going to do this. And we're going to do this. And kind of like what I just said, tackle, drop down, leapfrog, hip toss, powder out of the ring. You're like, what was the one in the middle? Like I thought I could remember it. And by the time I gone out there, you get nervous. You got your adrenaline pumping. You're thinking about trying to keep the person safe. You're trying to keep safe yourself. You're also trying to pay attention to the audience. You're trying to pay attention to where the referee is in the ring, and I just, like, literally, and I messed up the thing. So that's where, you fast forward to something about the time that, Dustin and I started wrestling against each other. I knew it was like, you remember it, I'll do it. That's all you get. That's pretty much what I started learning by that point was, hey, look, I don't care what the hell we do. Just don't kill me. That's all I ask, but. We ended up, it was a pack show. The promoter that did it, I wouldn't say it was packed to the rafters, but, there was a good following that they had there. I would say couldn't have been more than 7,500 people. Huge place. But in any event, I think, actually my brother and his family were there, Walt and Shannon and the kids. And this was pre Alyssa, which is his youngest daughter. And and it meant the world to me anytime that my family was there. So I always just wanted to pull out the stops. And this particular night, we're supposed to be doing a title match. And it was pretty big. And it was like one of those instances where I think I'd wrestled Dustin a couple other times. But this particular time, it was like our last match. It's what we call a blow-off match. So we were put on like early in the show, like right before intermission. Yet the main event people, the heavyweight champion, it was pretty much the promoter and his buddy. And I was a little old school. I'm not saying this type of thinking is right by any stretch, but my thought is if you can't look like a wrestler or look like you belong in the ring, then you have no business being in the ring, even if you are a promoter. And it's not to say that this promoter was a bad person by any stretch, but he couldn't wrestle. He didn't have a good look, but he could talk. That was one thing I could give him. That guy was a freaking talker. He was magical. And he also had the ability to manipulate the audience. So that part is also a huge thing. But in any event, I looked at it this way. You don't look like a wrestler. Get the fuck out of my ring. That was the way I looked at it. And so the fact that two very capable wrestlers, two guys that actually look like wrestlers and look like they belong past the guardrail, we were put before them, well before them. And my thought was, no, you don't understand. You put us before you. I will do everything in my power to steal the show. So I take Dustin aside and I was like, hey, man. I was like, what do you think about so-and-so working the main event? And he's like, yeah, that's pretty fucked up. And I was like, you want to steal the show? He's like, I was hoping you'd ask, I was hoping you'd ask that. And I was like, okay, so what kind of ideas? And we're throwing ideas. I knew what I was going to ask him, but I wasn't sure if he was going to commit to it. I was like, okay, I got an idea. Since it's a falls count anywhere match, because it was like a falls count anywhere, I could do it anywhere. You could pen in the ring, you could pen on the wall, you could do whatever. So, at any rate, I said to him, I'm like, how about we strip back the protective mat that's on the floor, and it's pure concrete, like polished concrete was what it was. I said, do you think you'd feel comfortable in taking my finish on the floor? Now, of course, this is batshit crazy, Kevin, because I would take a person, essentially have them on my shoulders. I'd grab them like this. Anybody that watches wrestling, it was essentially like Kurt Angle's finishing move, the angle slam, except I just had the arm tucked between the person's leg. And I would just grab like this and just really snap them really fast. You know, I'd get up and then back. And so essentially every single time that I would do that move, I would land on my back. Not the greatest finisher in the world because, you know, my back, you know, obviously took its toll. There's a good reason why I got beat up so damn bad and so fast because my finisher probably wasn't the best choice in the world.
Right.
And then doing it on a concrete floor, you know, added to the, you know, insult to injury. But he looks at me, he pauses, and he goes, "Fuck yeah." I was like,
Nice.
I'm like, you realize as soon as we're done, that's it. Because I knew I was going to be the winner of that particular match. And he's like, yeah. He goes, "I got a good idea. I trust you. You're a big dude." Because at that time, that was when I was like 220. And he was a lot smaller then. He's a bigger dude now. But in any event, he said, "How about I do my moonsault from the ring post down to the floor on you?" And I was like, oh. So we are sitting there engineering everything out and talking it out. And what ends up happening is we get out to the floor, we brawl. I think I end up throwing him into a trash can at some point. You know? He's
Nice.
like covered in friggin', you know, wrappers and food and things like that. But in any event, we're out on the floor. He strips back the mat as he's got an upper edge on me, and he's getting ready to do his pile driver onto the concrete. So of course the audience is like, you know, they're freaking out because they're good guys about ready to eat it. And I end up doing, you know, reversing it in some capacity. And I don't know. Well, at any rate, you know, prior to doing that, he did the moonsault. I end up catching him. He said at that time, I guess that I was the only person he had ever trusted to that. So funny, you fast forward sometime later, something that he didn't reveal, and you can probably go back and watch the footage of Combat Zone Wrestling. He was in a very large match at Combat Zone Wrestling, and it was probably 3 guys. He dived out. Somehow, between 3 guys, he just slipped through the middle of them.
Oh, no.
None of them caught. So that's how he broke his leg. He ends up going out, and like if you watch it, you hear just this sick thud. Pop! And yeah, you could see the picture of it. His leg, yeah, he wasn't kidding when he said he had 2 knees. But, you know, I guess I was one of the very few people prior to that, you know, I did, you know, he did the moonsault. You know, he's not a small guy, but he's not a large guy, but he's big enough that it's like, okay, somebody's flying at me, and I know that I got to catch him in some capacity so he's safe. You know, that's pretty much, it was fairly simple. I don't ever recall ever dropping anybody. In fact, there was many times where I would hurt myself just to make sure the other person was safe. I know, gosh, I think it happened twice where someone actually dived out of the ring. And some people think dives like, oh, what are dives? Oh, that's all fake and things. No, you take a 200-pound human being flying at you. Let me tell you how we prepare for that. Here's how we prepare for this. Oh, fuck, I hope I catch him.
That's shit. This is really happening.
There really is no practicing catching people. Yeah, you know, we did crash mats out in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. We had some of those things, so we could do some dives. I'm petrified of fucking diving. And in fact, it actually ended up screwing me up, and I have like 2 knuckles that are messed up in this hand because I botched a dive once. And I think number of times I've ever dove, I made sure there was at least 2 or 3 people because I was just like, no, I'm kind of scared. I'm sure it was like my Walt used to call it my diving. It was my squirrel dive is what he called it. Because he's like, I looked like a squirrel, like, you know, one of those flying squirrels. He's like, you look absolutely petrified, man. He's like, I call it your squirrel dive. And I was like, awesome. But yeah, in any event though, yeah, we went out and I ended up doing my finisher to him on the concrete and I fucked his elbow up. I mean, I'm sure he's probably got issues with that elbow still. And, you know, God bless him that he continued to be my friend. And then, of course, become, you know, a pretty successful tag team matchup until pretty much my back was like, fuck you, done, clocking out. But, yeah, it's so awesome. But, you know, I really loved a lot of the points that he kind of brought about is, you know, his inspiration. Obviously, I'm not suggesting anybody out there to start popping pills so they can figure out their.
Yeah, that disclaimer.
Yeah.
Don't go buy a bunch of workout supplements and try to figure out your own formula from it. Don't.
Right. Yeah. To try to find something that's going to work for you. Obviously, inspiration comes from the darndest of places, and I think that inspiration came from Dustin out of just necessity. He's looking at, well, God, I'm not going to really, his shoulder's messed up and he has nothing else that he can do. It's not like he can go out very much. It's not like he can go to work, so you have nothing but time. So if you ever have downtime, you need to get a pad of paper and a pen and get it out and start jotting out some ideas. What are some of the skill sets that you have? And I think that the guy's tremendous. He knows his shit on supplementation. I remember he was my go-to guy for like the longest time. I go, hey bro, what's this stuff? I remember one time we were heading to the gym one time. We were getting ready to work out, which guy's freaking strong as an ox. He used to say, oh, Lou, you're so strong. And I'm like, I don't know about that. But at any rate, though, I took this pre-workout one time, and I can't remember what it was, but it came like you had a syringe that came with it.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And like I would suck it out of the bottle, okay? And you'd shoot it, and you'd actually kind of have to keep it like slightly under your tongue because it was like one of those, absorbable type deals. I'm trying to think like a lipo delivery type thing, I think is what it was called. But in any event, I just like literally we're sitting in the car and it's probably like a 20-minute drive to the gym. We're with a couple of the boys. Actually, one of them he mentioned was Jake. I call him Jay and Dave. And the four of us, I think we're heading to the gym. And I literally like my skin just flushes red. And like I start just feeling like I'm like, oh! And like it's literally like pins like are being inserted into my skin, and I'm like, dude, whoa, what the fuck is happening here? And I just hand him the bottle. He's like, oh, same kind of laugh that he does there, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, that's the beta alanine working its way in you, man. He's like, you'll be all right. He's like, let's just go get a good pump in, it'll go away. I remember I was freaked the fuck out.
Dude, that's the way that C4, man, makes your skin tingle and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like Amazon's getting ready to pull up and bring in my shoes. In any event, yeah. In the middle of the show, hopefully Kelly got it. Yeah, it looks like it's taken care of. But in any event, this is live, folks. This is live. I'm not going to cut this out. Who cares? But what were some of the things that you kind of picked from this, and something that we can probably hopefully share and kind of analyze for our audience?
Just and honestly not a struggle for him, but just kind of the way he put it. Shit gets hard. You know what I mean? Just like with the wrestling, the injuries and stuff, but it was something he felt passionate about.
Yeah. So
you push through, right? If it means something to you, if there's a purpose behind it. Just like, he said, he's got a son, he's got another child on the way. So at this time he's like, okay, what is my purpose? What is my passion? He wants to be able to leave them a legacy, right? And yeah, he has a job, right? Cellucor,
yeah.
Cellucor.
Yeah.
Okay. Loves what he's doing.
He's doing that part-time. And I know that he, obviously he knows his shit about Cellucor's products. So I think Cellucor has one hell of an employee in Dustin. He's such an intelligent and very articulate type of guy. And he's always been the type of person that is always willing to learn and try to, perfect what he does. He's great. I think that, anybody that, can get the time, obviously try to mimic exactly what he's been doing. We didn't get to talk too much about profits and such, but I could say this already, that he pretty much already said, well, technically it didn't cost him anything to start up American Rivals. He just had to get a domain name, which I don't know how much he paid for his domain name, but you and we got Bootstrap Businessmen for $1 on GoDaddy.
Right.
$1 for an entire year, and next year it'll probably go up to $14.99, which that's
whatever.
Like a buck per month. I mean, that's negligible. You and I make that easily within a month with a lot of our affiliates.
Yeah, it's cheap.
Yeah, it's dirt cheap. So let's just assume that maybe Dustin went and got himself a domain name for AmericanRivals.com. He paid $14.99. And if he's, shirts are costing as a minimum $11. Let's say he sells them for 20. You know, he's already profiting $9. So all he's got to do is just sell 2 shirts, and he's already paid for his domain name. And I already know for a fact. I've seen some of his Instagram posts. I've seen other wrestlers' posts. The shirts are selling. And he's got one actually. Trump is actually on it. Donald Trump.
Nice.
It's got the well. See, he knows his audience. This is a really good one. You know, I wish we could have probably expanded just a bit more into how he had actually really targeted his audience, because that's so super important when you're going into business. But in any event, he had Donald Trump on it, and it was kind of like that. You know, almost that old school propaganda type. Shirt where it's like red, white, and blue, but you know, it's just like kind of like a silhouette type deal, a vectorized thing. And it said right below it, it says heel, you know, like as in bad guy, you know, bad guy from wrestling. So, and it sold. I've seen numerous people picking it up because, you know, of course, you know, Donald Trump right now is just the most trendingest thing right now, regardless if you're Republican or Democrat. Anybody can agree that.
It's Trump. It's Trumpapalooza right now.
It really is. So I'm not saying one side of the political fence or the other, but you know that comes back to, of course, knowing your audience. And you know, Dustin said he's always been super patriotic. Just to say that straightforward. You know, there was something that even he worked into our tag team gimmick to where, you know, he was talking about us being ultra patriots. And but in any event, you know, he's very much a gun rights enthusiast. A gun enthusiast, I should say, and also a gun rights activist, probably to a certain extent, just for, you know, because he posts his very much vocal views of, you know, having, you know, the Second Amendment right and such. Sure. And so, you know, he really started to identify, well, who's my audience, you know, and he knew that it's primarily a male, testosterone-driven, possibly looking at like a right-wing conservative type thing. And, you know, maybe I'm using the wrong words because I don't know that I'm not representing anything that he said, you know, it's just my assumption on what I've seen. So he's really chosen, you know, he's taken his finger and he goes, you're my audience. And he points right at it. So that's a huge, important thing when it comes to starting a business.
Absolutely. And well, you know, and taking the time to research, I mean, that was another point. You know, he was talking about, okay, so he's been working on putting together a formula for the supplements, but, you know, the backstory is years and years and years of trial and error, and then researching the ingredients, what works, what doesn't work, what works for him, what's worked for this person. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, very important. He's got his audience down and his research. He wants a quality product, which honestly is first and foremost, right? Making sure your product's number one, and then knowing who to basically market it to. What I get from him is he's not trying to sell anybody. He's really trying to serve them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Is what the vibe that I got from him. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that's just the way that I felt. Like I wanted to buy something from him just because I felt like, hey, I'm going to get a quality item. It's a lot like the same things when you put it, like your work and stuff, when you put out a book, the quality's there. So you want that, you know, you're going to get something, you know, with quality, and it's been dedicated to. So yeah, you know, another thing he was saying, what else was it, man? Just talking about the horses and how he overcame his fear. He's like, I can't be that guy and expect my pregnant partner to go out and take care of horses. You know what I mean? So he pushed through his fear, which if anybody listening to that, that's huge, man. To push through that threshold of fear, you know, it's about this big, but up here, it's like this big. You know what I mean? So
it's magnanimously huge. You know, when it comes to your fears and overcoming them, I mean, I can think of numerous fears. Even, you know, me going into pro wrestling. See, I'd started in 2002, and I had stepped out about sometime mid 2003. Because I just was like, screw this. The people I was associating with was just terrible. But then 2004, I ended up having my tryout for, you know, WWE then, and doing like a camp there. And then shortly afterwards, I was waiting for that big call, and that's when I ended up throwing my back out and just completely injuring it from 2004. And I didn't recover till 2006 when I made a return to the ring, and I said, I'm going to finally get, trained the right way. So that's when I went to Calgary, yada, yada. The rest is history. But my main thing was overcoming that fear. And like you said, it's like this, that small in reality, because, the doctor said, you can go wrestle. It's, just risk versus reward type thing, and I remember I was kind of freaked out, and it was this big, but thankfully I'm so glad, because otherwise I wouldn't have met so many wonderful people. And I think that's what sometimes people do. There's a dog that's loose outside.
Squirrel!
Yeah, ADHD hour. But, I think, here's something that when it comes to fear, it looks like Toto. When it comes to fear, the thing is, some people call it false evidence appearing real, but I think it really minimizes sometimes something that really is pretty large to somebody. And, some fear is rational. Most fear is irrational. So, I mean, being afraid of cutting your hand, being a cook, that's a rational fear. You could very well cut your hand at some point. You can cut your fingers. Sure. Irrational fear is like, I'm afraid of spontaneously combusting. But here's the thing is, if you just allow your fear to dictate most of what you do within your life, you're going to miss out on some of just the best things in the world. Yes, my back absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, messed up in 2008, in June 2008. It was so bad. It was the worst pain I'd ever felt. And I rolled my ankle once before, and that was terrible. But having the pain that I had, really, there was mental as well as physical pain, and it was bad. But I'll tell you what, I would do it 10 times over just to be able to, have experienced and met the people that I did, and, and developed some of the relationships, like with, someone like Dustin or a Jobber, or even, my boy Dave and Jay, the Chris brothers. Those guys, I mean, they're irreplaceable. And like I said, I'd do it 10 times over, and who knows where I'd be, at this point. So yeah, fear. I mean, that's really something. I imagine that was probably something, for instance, when you were working for that large corporation, you were regional manager, and, you had to kind of overcome your fear and walk out away from that safety net, if you will, in quotations here.
Yeah, it's kind of, you and I always talk about this, burning the boats. It takes away your security blanket. If you can picture a small child, they're always wrapped up with the blanket or their teddy bear. That's kind of how my life was for a long time, dude, is I was wrapped up in that security blanket. And I tell you what, dude, I missed out on a lot, so that was in reflection. The fear was very real. There were moments, I think I was fighting. I've never really felt this before or really know what it is. But I can honestly say, I think I was fighting back, like depression. Fuck this, I can't do it, I'm going back, I gotta, even if I gotta start all over, I mean, it was just, working through that in my mind, and I'm gonna say it, and I'll say it probably 1,000 times from this point on. One of the books that really changed my life was by Dr. Wayne Dyer. You'll you'll see it when you believe it.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. You and I actually had reconnected last year, and that was one book. I was like, dude, I fucking love this book. It literally changed my life. You're like, you too? And I was like,
yeah. Oh man, it was, yeah. So, reading through that, just really had to take the time and work on my mindset. That's why I'm such a big proponent on that. Dude, is because walking away, and people listen to this, they're going to say you're crazy and stuff. You walk away from something that, great benefits, 6 figures a year, whatever.
Yep.
It takes a mind shift, man, to happen. So I'm a big proponent for that. And in anybody that doesn't understand, that's the biggest obstacle that you have, is your mind.
Breaking it out of that normal mode. So many people get to that belief that You go to college, you get an education, you get a job, you move your way up in the job, you eventually become the president of that company, and you retire and you die. And unfortunately, that's just,
Take your 2 weeks a year and go by a beach somewhere. You know what I mean, dude?
Right.
That was my life for 15, 18 years. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that what I did I regret, because I can't, because it took really good care of my family. So that was my number one priority. Then things shifted when my family was just kind of okay with me not being around. I was like, this isn't right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm going on and on and on stuff, dude. I don't really want to talk too much about that because it's boring, and know what I mean?
No, it's hopefully, the people in our audience that are listening to this, sometimes, it takes some of this, just hearing this and repeating this and just saying this, that because it's very real. It's not like you and I were born entrepreneurs. We had to kind of get ourselves into that position, and I was kind of in that same position myself, where I was actually moving my way up in a fairly large private company. And I mean, I really had my eyes set in the corporate headquarters. I was like, you know what, we're going to go up to the corporate. But at the end of the day, I had to face the reality of, all of a sudden, my priorities are out of order, out of whack. Because this is how I usually determine what I'm going to do today. Okay. And hopefully people can do the same thing. Is, what if? I know you can't base your life on what ifs, but I just want you to use this one what if there's any that you're going to choose. What if tomorrow you die? Okay. What if tomorrow you die? If you found out tomorrow I'm dead. Do you think you're going to do the things that you're doing today like you normally would? Would you just go to your job and deal with a boss that you don't like, or do something that you're not passionate about, or do something that you're kind of like, it's a paycheck? I highly doubt it. You probably wouldn't. You'd probably go find a way to get money to fly out to Hawaii for the first time. You'd finally get the nerve to ask that girl out that you've always been interested in. You would finally be brave, and all of a sudden that fear, you start to really look at it from a third-person perspective, where you thought it was this large, it was in fact actually minuscule. It's just small, because when you start to think about it, what if I die tomorrow? Today's my last day.
Here's what truly happened, man, after reading that book and not reading it, studying it, okay? There's a difference. Don't just fucking read it. You got to study it. When you let go and start living, dude, I mean, everything changes. And I had to, because I not only was the fear in me, I brought that fear home. Because when you walk through the door and you're like, oh, hey, what's happening? Daddy's home and he's not going back. That shocks your family, bro. So I had to, and that's one of the things, man. If people understand stuff, if you don't think you can do it, you're right.
It's true.
But once you believe that you can, it opens up the entire world. Right now, I would say the majority of my life and stuff, experienced a lot of things, met a lot of great coaches. I've been trained by, just some, well, there's a couple CEOs and stuff now, but whatever, we're not worried about that. But, as far as the sales process and how to handle people, that I can't take away. But I'll tell you what, if you've ever seen somebody walking around with their head down, and that's kind of their life, that's kind of the way the majority of us live, right? Our heads down. We don't even see what's in front of us. We don't see what's going on back here. There's so much, man. I mean, just even in meeting somebody on the street and saying hello to them, just being aware, being present in your life.
Yeah.
Dude, what a difference, and the person that's sitting there listening to this saying, I don't have time, or I don't know if I can do it, man, you're right. You can't until you change this. But,
Some people it can be a switch, but other people it's going to be closer to being like a dimmer switch where you're going to have to fade that on over there. So,
Yeah.
you and I could probably say easily, like, for instance, when I said I was going to get rid of dairy, I literally just made my mind up back in December. I was like,
Done.
I don't do that anymore. That's just literally all I said. But I think that I might be the exception to the rule. There's going to probably be some people out there that have to kind of dimmer switch, and every now and then that dimmer switch switches back a little bit more. But if you can just ease yourself towards the right direction and just take small baby steps, as they say in the movie What About Bob, with Bill Murray. Baby steps.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Dustin's doing. You know what I mean? He's taken the baby steps, done the research. He knows the direction he wants to go in, and he's starting to implement that into his life, and it's starting to unfold for him. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
so it's really cool. But yeah, I really enjoyed having Dustin on the show. So if you guys happen to be listening to this, we forgive. Please forgive us for some of the sound issues. Unfortunately, we kind of popped up this thing on Dustin, and he doesn't have really a video camera on his computer. He doesn't have like a microphone, a built-in microphone, so he had to actually use his phone. And he admitted to us that his phone is jacked up. Screen cracked. He's dropped it in the toilet. So, if you just really listen closely, though, please don't get distracted by, the fact that his voice will kind of go in and out. You could still hear what he's saying if you put a set of headphones on and listen to him, because he really delivers just a great message. And maybe you're not a supplement expert. Maybe you're not the person that is a gun rights activist. Maybe you're not a person that's conservative. Maybe you're not a former pro wrestler. But I'm going to tell you this, is that Dustin puts his pants on just like you do, one leg at a time. And I'll tell you, he's a remarkable and a very special person, but only because I know him. And whoever's listening to the show, I know I don't know you. Maybe I don't know you directly. Maybe I know some of you. In any event, I'll just say, hi, Carol. I think that's probably going to be our going joke. We're going to do a shout out to Carol Langkamp every single time. But in any event, I may not know you, but this is what I do know is you're live. And so this is one thing that I'm just going to say is you're a special individual. Now, this is not some new age bullshit, and it's not some, Al Franken type skit, you're special, No, you are a very special, unique person, and there's something within you that needs to be drawn out. You have something. You may not know it, but you have something that's uniquely you that you can provide to the world that nobody else, somebody's looking for, There's every single person in the world is like a Lego piece. You're all interchangeable and stackable, but you're all a very unique square. So, I'm getting deep, man. We're like puzzles. We fix all the puzzle pieces together.
No, that's not really that deep at all and stuff. I mean, here's the true injustice that's happening in the world is if you hold that gift back, right?
Yes.
Because there could be something in you that changes. Even if it's one person, change one person, change yourself, you change the world. Change one person, holy shit! But no, there could be a gift inside of somebody, man, that would change a whole town. A new invention or something that they're just holding back. That's an injustice, not only to yourself but just to the world, man. I mean, to not be who you really are.
Yeah, this is so true, and it's I look at the experience of me being a self-published author and a personal trainer, and some of the lives that have been impacted. And I just try to do it one person at a time, but I don't ever think about the ripple effect, if you will, because I'm going to affect somebody, but guess what? That person's going to go on and affect other people. I hear this a lot, and I hear this where it's just like, what is this world coming to? Or there's no good people in the world. Well, all I got to say is, Mr. Pessimist, calm the fuck down.
Calm the fuck down.
And realize that there are lots of great people in the world. You just need to open up your eyes, and you need to start to become the change that you want to see within the world, which I think actually Mahatma Gandhi might have said that, be the change that you want to see within the world. But that's the thing. If you think that, what's this world coming to? Well, do something about it. When the fuck whining ever gets you anything? So there's something within you can unlock. Because, see, I have a knowledge and I have a certain skill set when it comes to, first of all, the skill set being personal training. I have a knowledge of fitness and exercise. I have a very basic grasp of nutritional concepts. So those things, if I were to just kind of keep it to myself, what good would it do for anyone but me? Yeah, sure, it's helped me out, but the nice thing is I'm able to pass that on to one other person. Guess what? That one other person could be able to pass on to other people, and so on and so forth. So maybe your skill set isn't exercising. Maybe you know how to dance. Maybe you're a singer. Hey, maybe you're a person who knows how to set up point of sales things. It might seem like, you know, I'm serious though. You know, you took the time. You've got a knowledge and you got a skill set. Okay, your skill set is you're a people person. I'll tell you this: you can sell ice to an Eskimo. So apologize if anybody would get offended by that statement, but just manner speaking. But nonetheless, you have this ability to connect with people. So that is a skill. That's a skill set. Nobody's just born with it. Like they come out of the womb. Hey, how's it going? Shake hands, kiss babies. Yeah, babies, babies.
My biggest thing, Dale. I'm honestly, dude, what it is in me, I'm not really any good at sales. I appreciate everybody's story. I really do. You know what I mean? Just how did you get started? Yeah, we can do all the in-game stuff later. You know what I mean? That's the boring shit. Tell me why you're here. How did you get your business started? And the funny thing is, dude, that people love to talk about themselves. Shocker, right?
Yeah.
Not too many people ask about, you know what I mean?
Whoa. Oh, hey, you're frozen, man. Yep, there you're starting to buffer back through here, man. Live on the show, baby. You might want to check your internet connection. I'm just gonna keep on talking here randomly. Geez, this is always tough when it's just me by myself because I don't normally just talk to myself unless I'm writing something. Kevin, you might want to disconnect and just reconnect back on, dude. Hopefully, I want to kind of expand something and that we were kind of just talking about, because there's no sense of me just putting dead air and you guys just stare at me and look at my stubble and my age spots, things like that. But something that with Kevin is he has a skill set. He has a ability to connect with people. And the other thing is he's got the knowledge as well. Obviously he had to do some investigation in order to actually start his business. So that's going to be the main thing, is try to find one thing that you can start to develop your knowledge and build upon it. It's not like I learned about, doing 50,000 push-ups overnight. It was something I studied and studied and studied and studied. I became a student of that specific game. Right now, I am heavily entrenched in trying to figure out what is email marketing. How do I use email marketing so that way I can deliver more valuable content to my audience? And we'll probably cover it sometime in a future episodes when it comes to email marketing. And I've already read 6 books in the last 2 weeks. It's probably been 3 weeks now. But nonetheless, I've read that many, and I've already started another one today. And I'm just trying to read a lot of the experts and trying to really build upon that knowledge set, because if I want to become good at it, I need to become a student of the game. I need to learn from other people. Thankfully, I've got, a mentor and someone like, say, Jason Brock, who's been very successful in email marketing. But nonetheless, wow, Kevin, you are still frozen, dude. I don't know if he's there's some way, but any event, man, I don't know if Kevin's going to be able to come back on here. Let me just check my messages here. No, he is not saying a word. Maybe his internet's down. Well, in any event, when it comes to just building all that, you just got to start to research, find out who the successful people are, find the information that you need to do, and just start it one step at a time. Some people use time. The most common excuse is time and money. If you're lacking money, you'll find a way. If you're lacking time, you'll find a way. Now, too many times people think to themselves, well, I work 16 hours per day, and on my days off, I'm usually sleeping in. Well, take 5 minutes a day. I know you've got 5 minutes within you, because if it's important enough, you will really etch that time out to really sit down and start to build and develop yourself, because otherwise, guess what? If you're not happy with your job, it's not going to change. It's not like someone's going to show up and give you a winning lottery ticket and get it to where your life is going to magically, become better. Unicorns will come prancing down rainbows. It just doesn't work out that way, folks. So it looks like this is probably going to be a little bit of a shortened episode. I'm going to disconnect, and maybe we can paste these episodes together. So if you happen to be watching live, my apologies. We'll just reconnect in just a moment and reconvene. I was getting ready to say, one of these times when we start up, we should start laughing, like just randomly at some stuff. So yeah, it's like we start laughing at the same time. So yeah, we're back live again. We had some tech issues, but I'll just paste this stuff together. So our listeners are probably not going to know any different unless you're on YouTube and you see us. You're like, Will, what happened there? Technical issues. We're working without a net. We still got right about 15 minutes of time to kind of fill in and such. So hey, let's talk a little bit of, we were talking about some other stuff. No sense in us trying to fire that back up and try to force the conversation. But I would like to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you've been doing with audiobooks, man.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. Loud and clear, dude.
Okay. Man, Fail to Succeed, 10 Guiding Principles, and Soul Food are actually going to be on it. Well, the 2 are already done, and
that's 10 Guiding Principles and Fail to Succeed are done.
Yes, those 2 are finished. Fail to Succeed is actually available for purchase through Audible, iTunes, and there's another. Is it just Amazon? Am I correct?
Yeah, it's Amazon, okay. Audible, iTunes. Yeah, it's kind of like the trifecta.
Yeah, so that one is available for sale. 10 Guiding Principles for the Ethical Entrepreneur will be available within the next few days for purchase. Yeah. So, dude, what a process that was. When you first started talking about this, I'm going to be honest with you, I was like, this is a fucking mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Holy, what is he talking about? I'm going to have to go out and buy this boom mic, like the one that's sitting right there in front of you. I'm going to have to buy this mic. I'm going to have to build like a little recording studio, you know what I mean? Just, for the sound. Yeah. You're like, dude, you don't have to do all that. I'm like, what?
No. It's so funny because, as an entrepreneur, you always think, well, I got to, I was actually in an area meeting yesterday, and a gentleman that was there said something that I've always thought was, being an entrepreneur, you almost always just think to yourself, well, I've got to do everything myself. But that's probably one of the worst things for you to do. You most definitely, if you look at any of the uber successful people in the world, whether it's Bill Gates or you're looking at someone like Mark Cuban, they aren't doing it themselves, all right? Because I can guarantee you they may have a good idea of how to manage, but they don't know every single thing to make their business run exactly as it should. Maybe Bill Gates is not very good at accounting. That might be a bad example. Maybe he's not very good at cleaning his office. That's the thing is, being an entrepreneur, sometimes you got to know what's your strength and figure out that strength. Keep doing the strength.
Yes.
Don't,
with that.
We go from one end of the spectrum to the other. Some people are like, well, you got to learn, if you're going to be opening up your business, you need to kind of develop a knowledge and develop that skill set. But in the same instance, you got to know when to say when. Find that one thing and become really good at it. For me, I'm a good speaker. I can read books and things like that. And that's why I kind of, I'll admit to you, this particular microphone came from sales from my ACX books, from all my audiobooks. And it was from about a month, maybe 2 months, because it was pretty early on in the process, 2 months worth of pay. But I was able to get that because I thought to myself, well, I'm going to go ahead and record my own books. And this is something that was told to me by my mentor and really good friend, Jason Brock. Jason said to me, he told me, without me, imitating him like I usually do, he pretty much said, listen, you got to stick to the things that you're strongest with. Focus on those things, become really good at it, and keep doing those things. The other things that you don't know how to do, you need to kind of give that to the qualified people. And here's the really cool thing, dude. So share with people how much money you spent.
The funny part about it is, kind of looking into this, I'm gonna give the whole story.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, start from the beginning for sure.
Okay. So looking into this, just in passing, you're like, we need to get these on audiobooks, ACX. I'm like, what the fuck is ACX? Is this like BMX bike or something? So
Yeah.
anyway, we iron that out. So I figure out what it is, and I start looking into it, and I'm like, man, I got to pay somebody to do this, pay per hour, and then I started researching, Googling everything. We started talking. I mean, you could get into, man, what, $50, $100 an hour for, a good narrator for your books, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, easily. So I'm like, man, this is crazy. We've got, this book is not a novel or anything, so it's not going to take so long. So I'm like, all right, this is probably going to cost me about $200. Yeah, okay, I'll recoup that back sooner or later, right?
Yeah.
You're like, no, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, we're bootstrap businessmen, baby. We don't spend money if we can help it.
So there's another option in there, and it's called royalty share. Basically, you split the revenues that are generated between you and your narrator. The crazy part about it is it doesn't cost you anything. And all you have to do is approve the person, whether or not they did a good job, they sound right with what you're looking for, as far as the narrative process goes. That's it.
Yeah, it's fairly simple. You just ended up putting up a gig, like an audition, and people apply for the job. Now, not all gigs are gonna, be taken up on. Trying to think of an example. I had one book that stayed up for a long time. Oh, it was a really bad romance book. One of my early projects in actual self-publishing last year. I'd hired this Romanian writer through, at the time it was, was it Odesk? It might have been Odesk, or it might have been Elance. Either way, it was like an Upwork type thing. And I put like a gig up on there, pretty much saying, hey, look, I got $50. I need somebody to write me a story. That's just the short of it. She wrote me a story. It was bad. It was so bad. I edited it and proofread it, and then I sent it over to Carol. And Carol actually did the editing and proofreading, and she's like, Dale, this is bad. Like, we put lipstick and makeup on this pig, and it was still fucking ugly.
Nice.
Well, so in any event, this was prior to me really having any kind of sense. I just saw dollar signs. So I was chasing the dollar signs. So that there's the lesson learned on that. But here's the thing is, it didn't do worth the shit. So of course it didn't really rank really well. I had kind of a okay cover on it, and really nobody wanted to audition for it. It sat there for 90 days. And when you let your project sit for 90 days, what ends up happening is they pull it off, and you've got to confirm your rights again and then put it back up for audition again. And I didn't, because I just eventually just said, screw it. I went ahead, gave Kelly the rights to it, and she actually ended up repurposing it into one of her romance books on her brand and such. I don't know that she has it up anymore. I think she does. She might. I don't know. But, you can only put so much lipstick on a pig before somebody just gives up. So but nonetheless, though, yeah. So people apply for the job, and it's kind of a fun process.
It is kind of cool, yeah. I will admit, man, because all of a sudden you get this audition back, you're like, oh, cool. So you listen to it, and you're like, man, I've heard this voice, or it sounds something familiar. Like, I've heard this before. You're listening to it, and you're like, wow. The really cool part about it is, man, and it's small things that make me smile and stuff, is that it's something that you put together. You're hearing it read back by somebody else, which means somebody else has it in their hand, right? So it's not just in front of you on your computer anymore. So now the world has it, and that's kind of cool. And now, I took a screenshot of it, dude, because I saw it was for sale in iTunes. Again, small things, right? It's just really cool. It's not the fact that it's iTunes. That's just where it's at. It could be on Draft Pimp MP3 player audiobooks or some shit, you know what I mean? So
that's a legit brand too, by the way.
Yeah. so it could be there, it's not even iTunes. So, it's just kind of cool, man, to see that happen. And the simple fact, if anybody's listening, $0 invested in making that process happen. Then you just split the royalties, and we've already had a few sales. I know I don't even want to even try to count how many you've got.
I'd say it's hundreds.
Yeah.
Well, it was right about the same time you put up Failed to Succeed for audition. I ended up putting up about 25 titles because I had a conversation with Jason, and that's when he pretty much did a kind of a come to Jesus speak with me, where he just, it always starts off with, he kind of takes a deep breath, man. Yeah, he just kind of just takes a deep breath, man. You don't need to fuck around with that stuff. He just pretty much was just like, he told me the time that I would learn how to do the audiobook, I could be writing my next workout plan, which is true. I've got a million workout plans at this point. Literally, I don't think I've ever told you. I think I probably have at least, I would say 2 to 3 gigs worth of workouts.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Yeah, because see, there was a stretch there where anytime I customized every single one of my personal training clients' workouts, like literally based on their condition, and everybody had a unique workout. I used to carry around this little pink clipboard to every one of my workouts, and I would print out their workout that I'd make on the computer. I took time and I took energy and I took pride in everything I did. So I literally had thousands, probably not just thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of workouts. So he's right. I shouldn't be wasting my time on trying to do an audiobook when I can get somebody else to do it. So I was just like, you know what, you are right. So I essentially went on and put almost every single one of my workout books. Now, some people say, well, why would you put a workout book on audiobook? I don't know.
Why not?
Here's the thing is, I was against doing it. And then when I heard there's actually a market for people to listen to audiobooks in workouts. Now, here's the thing that I learned from ACX early on was that recipe books and quotes books do not gel well with the whole audiobook format. That's so not true, ACX. Shame on you, because I could have done quotes books and I could have done recipe books a long time ago. So I come to find out there's been some people making a mint on those particular things. Now, I'm not sitting there trying to tell everybody go balls deep on, making quotes books and making recipe books and putting it up on ACX, okay? So don't go chasing the dollar sign. If it's something that interests you, by all means, go ahead and do it. So I found out that there was a market, and I said, okay, I got the,
I've got the content.
Yeah, I had the content. So I went and got the microphone thinking I was going to do the audiobook, and it finally just kind of came down to the fact that really this microphone ends up being good for me recording videos for my webinars and doing, the podcasts.
Sure.
So, essentially I will eventually learn that skill set when I feel like I'm at a position to where I have a little bit of discretionary time that I can focus on something like that. But for right now, the workout plan is global and it is growing, but Jason's right. It wasn't a good investment of my time. So I found a wonderful audiobook reader, and he was going through and doing my quotes books. And see, I had all these projects running. So I have my other brands that I established through freelance writing. So for instance, there is a brand that have in veganism. I actually had hired a writer over on Upwork. She did marvelous stuff, and I just put it underneath an assumed name, and it does okay. I wouldn't say it's smash hit, but here's the thing: is on audiobook, it does really well. It does really well. In fact, I make more money on the audiobooks than I do on the Create Space or the Kindle.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's so funny because I hear this so much. It may not be very successful on Kindle or Create Space, but don't rule out audiobook. Now, you got to be reasonable too, though. I got a message accidentally from one of the narrators that had applied or auditioned for one of my gigs. And, she was good. Don't get me wrong. She just wasn't what I was envisioning. Because you'll hear your book read and you'll go, oh, wow, it's kind of cool. And yeah, I still get a kick out of it. It's the small things. When you said it's the small thing, I was like, oh, yeah, I love hearing the workout plan read back to me. Where like
do you close your eyes?
Yeah, I'm like, no, I don't know if I close my eyes. I'll have to take a picture next time I do it. But, I sit there and I listen to it and with my headphones on and I just try to focus on it. And I'm like, is this exactly what I'm looking for? If I were a person who purchased this book, is this something that gels well with me? And that's where I think Morris Clavens, I think is his name. Morris Clavens II. He's the one who's producing my workout plan series because he did the quotations books and he did them so marvelously. And the guy is a machine. So Morris, if you're watching this, dude, you are the man. Like seriously, that's a man who knows his skill set. And hopefully maybe you and I could get him on the show one of these times because I'm sure he's making a fairly successful living being a narrator. And if not, I think he's relatively new because I didn't see very much content up on his page. But nonetheless, he's going to have a buttload of stuff because
hey, there's a quote book over on the other side of the fence if he wants to take a look at it.
Yeah. So I got my quotes books. You have the soul food as well. Sadly, man, I got him so busy, dude. I would have suggested him before, but he just did the stretch workout plan. I still need to go through and actually proof it tonight. He just sent me a message today, said he's got the 90-day home workout plan done, and he's going to post it up tomorrow.
That's quick.
Yeah, dude, and it's quality too. Like he has this Morgan Freeman-esque sounding voice.
So he knows his cadence and everything. He's just like,
it's money, and his communication's impeccable, which means the world to me because there's no such thing as over communication to me, and he communicates with me very regularly, and I anticipate that he'll probably have my entire brand done before I even put out my next book, because I anticipate that I'll have the next workout plan for beginners finished by Friday, but it probably won't be published another week or 2 weeks because, I like to plan things out and launch it in a certain sequence. And most likely it'll go pre-sale first, and then we'll go into the full launch. But
sure.
That's another story for another day. But yeah, ACX is just proving to be very well. And I'm going to tell you this, it's nice. You don't really have to promote it. Amazon takes care of it. iTunes takes care of it. Audible takes care of it. And really it runs from there. And here's the really good thing actually is you haven't gotten it yet, but you get 25 free credits that you're able to hand out. So you say, Dale, I want you to check out Fail to Succeed. I have these credits. So that's why I was able to listen to Fail to Succeed this morning when I did the workout, which, by the way, anybody that actually goes to Fail to Succeed on Audible, you'll see my review there. I didn't think it would stick. I literally – so they're like, did this dude just review his own product? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I couldn't figure out how to take it down. But here's the thing is, I reviewed the narrator. I like the narrator. I legitimately put down, I was like, I worked out, and I like this guy's delivery because he reminds me of, the rest of the story, Paul Harvey, just that old school radio broadcaster sound. I loved his delivery. So he did wonderful. Now, is he the best I've ever heard? Not by any stretch. I was able to pick some things apart, but that's because I'm so experienced in hearing audiobooks at this point that I'm able to hear that. But to the average reader, I'm going to tell you this right now, superior. The guy is great. He delivers his book in a way that I tell you,
Fail to Succeed.
Yes.
5 principles of.
It was. I mean, I love how he just does that. That's one. I just get a kick out of it. But are we going to be buried in money when it's all said and done? Highly unlikely. But we're going to make enough of a residual income, and that's the thing with Bootstrap Businessmen is you and I want to get it to where we can connect with people that are starting a business like the Dustins and like the Ellies and like the Michelles. These people that are starting a business from scratch, they're not going to a large corporation. They're not going to a bank and taking out a large loan, which that's very interesting. Anybody need to go over, check out my blog post about the one time that Mark Cuban says, if you take out a loan for your business, you're a fucking moron. Mark Cuban, man. I won't argue with him. I won't argue with Mark Cuban, man. He's the man. But in any event, I don't know where the hell I was going with this. Yeah, we want to get it to where Bootstrap Businessmen grows and starts to build as a brand. But in the same instance, Kevin and I have, we have our jobs. I hate to call it a job. We've got our passions. We've got our businesses. But we need to focus on those main businesses. So Bootstrap Businessmen, yes, it's a hobby, but it's something that we know that we want to develop into a full brand and a full business that actually starts to pay us and bring it back. So if you ever watch a show going, well, all they ever want to do is sell us things, wake up. This is the real fucking world. Everybody sells you on everything. Have you ever had it to where, somebody comes up and goes, hey, did you see that new Avengers movie? They're fucking selling you on going to see Avengers. Somebody comes out and they're fucking not blatant about how they're selling you something doesn't mean they're not selling you something. It's like, so you need to trick me when I'm being sold something. So, hey, did you see the latest Bootstrap Businessmen episode? Yes, I did. And those guys don't sell me on shit. Yeah. Here's the thing is you and I, we're trying to build a business. And the nice thing is we're setting up things and putting things in place that can run in the background while we continue to run our own businesses. I know that a year from now, we're not going to only just be in the black, because we're already in the black, but we're going to also make a good substantial living that literally will replace any full-time jobs income. And I'm talking beyond minimum wage, and splitting it in half for the two of us while we cover overhead costs.
Right.
So it's not just me saying, being braggadocious or saying, well, this is, it is, and I'm going to point to the fences, but we also have a game plan, and there's many things that are coming into place. And I think ACX is one of the things that's a prime example of us.
Well, yeah, it's kind of the tip of the iceberg, to be honest with you. And for people listening, if they have that mindset, here's another thing, right? We're trying to help you take something that you feel passionate about, right? You're like, I know I need to advertise, but that costs a lot of money. Well, all of our guests have been on the show. They've just been on the show. That doesn't cost them a dime.
And it's not that, I don't want to take anything away from our show.
No.
There are a fuck ton of podcasts. There are a fuck ton of blogs. There are a ton of everything. And really all you got to do, you don't have money. You need to advertise. Start emailing people. Start calling people. Start meeting people. Start networking with people.
Well, and I tell you what, we've and I am going to put this in there, Dale. I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but a few people, since they've been on our show, they've been on other shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're like, oh, okay, this is really cool and this works. So it's kind of a stepping stone. So look at it like this. Yeah, if you buy a 12-pack of toilet paper on Amazon and Amazon gives us 4 cents back, well, that 4 cents just got you on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, FeedBurner, you know what I mean, on our website, on our blog, and on our social media for 4 cents. So don't be shy about buying a 12-pack of fucking toilet paper.
Yeah, it really does help us out. And I'm going to say this right now, that we haven't really ever put any money into our pocket at this point. It's really not that big at this point that we can actually put it into our pocket. In fact, the two of us had to kind of just discuss, meanwhile, what are we going to do with the money? Because they're obviously coming to our individual accounts, but we want to make sure it's into a pooled thing. So we're talking, well, let's go ahead and wire it into our PayPal account, so that way we have it this way and that, So I'll say this much right now: we're not making enough. See, I'm not Pat Flynn. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm making 6 figures a year. Love Pat Flynn. That's his thing. Don't ever expect me to come on the show, not right now, and say, I'm making X amount of dollars. So I'm going to tell you this: we're not making enough on this show to even claim it on our taxes. That's how little it is.
Right.
So, at first we really tried to pursue the avenue of getting sponsorships. And please, by all means, if you ever want to get a sponsorship, we will push the fucking shit to the goddamn ground. Get a hold of us. We'll do it. And I'm not saying out of desperation. We could definitely use some sponsors, but in the same instance, we've realized that it required too much of our time, and we'd rather focus on the other things like, developing projects. So writing Fail to Succeed, between you and I, we wrote that in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it was about 2 weeks. Yeah.
And the nice thing is it's turned into 3 different projects. It did Kindle, it did paperback, and it also did audiobook. And something that, you and I can also consider is, after it's out of KDP Select at the end of its 90-day period, we can see about directly uploading it to iTunes and Barnes and Noble. And then we start to get even more exposure.
Right.
So, I like to consider that, because we can do perma-free, and then we can start to build the email list. But we're going to save that conversation for another day, because I think we're finally at the hour mark, despite our brief hiccup. But it works out nicely, man. But hey, folks, if you tuned in, I really do appreciate it. Kevin, I always just appreciate the two of us connecting. We started this show a long time back because I said, man, if a fly on the wall could hear our conversations, because they're funny, first of all, and if you don't find them funny, fuck you. And all joking aside, we felt that there was some kind of value, because we shared things with each other. We said, well, man, there's going to be somebody out there struggling. And if you are struggling, man, just keep at it. And don't be afraid. Get a hold of us. bootstrapbusinessmen@gmail.com. Once again, that's bootstrapbusinessmen@gmail.com. And we'd be happy to, if you ever just have questions, or even just say, what's up? And, actually, here's the thing is, today is Wednesday, May 4th. I'll put this out here. How about this? I know this is going to air come next Wednesday. So why don't we say this? If you email us by the end of this month, that's at bootstrapbusinessmen.com, or excuse me, bootstrapbusinessmen@gmail.com. If you email us, we will send you a free audiobook code for Fail to Succeed. Literally, there's no strings attached. We're not asking you to sign up for an email list, nothing. It's just our way of saying, thanks for listening to us. Just email us, be like, hey, what's up? Give me my audiobook, bitch. Actually, don't say that. That hurts.
No, you gotta say punk bitch.
Yeah, punk bitch, we're totally
Punk
cool.
bitch.
So if you just go ahead, email us. We'll give you one code now. Okay, one code per person, please, and don't sit there and spam us with a bunch of different other email addresses. Be cool. I do have some extra codes, and I know that we're going to have about 25 here pretty soon for Fail to Succeed.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, you want a free copy of Fail to Succeed, bootstrapbusinessmen@gmail.com. Hit us up. So in the meantime, you got any last words, Kevin?
Yeah, man. Actually, if people want to, when they do email us, hey, drop a hint. If there's something you need to hear about, or you want us to kind of maybe have a guest on, kind of point something out that you're struggling with or you're going through, let us know. We'll make that happen. So
absolutely,
right? We'll make it happen.
I echo that sentiment. Well, in the meantime, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. Now we're going to record our commercial. Take care, folks. Just a reminder, you can support the show by simply shopping at Amazon through the link in the show description. Every time you make a purchase through the provided link, a small percentage of sales goes back to support our show and cover overhead costs. And there's no additional cost to you, and it greatly helps us out. Simply go to the link, bookmark it in your browser, and do your shopping on Amazon at no extra cost to you while you support your two favorite podcast personalities, Bootstrap Businessmen.
Absolutely, Dale. And also, everybody, just as a reminder, you can follow us at Stitcher.com. Just type in Bootstrap Businessmen. It's going to, pull up all of our shows and episodes so you can listen to us there. Go to SoundCloud.com. Type in Bootstrap Businessmen. iTunes.com. And type in Bootstrap Businessmen. And you can follow us. You can download the podcast on your phone if you have an iPhone. Stitcher and SoundCloud both have an app that you can put on your phone so you never miss an episode.